So I'll be moving on to the next speaker. Please, Jaja, you'll be speaking in place of Okechukwu while we wait for him to join us. So I'll be calling Ibifuro Robert Jaja from the Center for Philosophy and AI Research, Friedrich Alexander University, Germany. She will be speaking to us today on the danger of a single story, implications of AI development in Africa. Please, Jaja, speak to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll go ahead and share my screen, my slides, so everyone here can follow what I'm about to present. Can you all see my screen?
We can,
No.
but we cannot see the screen, like the slide you want to share with us.
Can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, fine, okay. Amara, I see that you struggled with pronouncing my name. I get that all the time, but it's fine. My name is Ibifuro Robert Jaja. I am a PhD student of the Center for Philosophy and Artificial Intelligence Research Center, Friedrich Alexander University, Erlangen, Germany. I will be giving a short talk on the danger of a single story, implications of AI development in Africa. By way of introduction, I'll simply read Chimamanda's Adichie's quote on her TED Talk that inspired this topic. It goes as follows. The single story creates stereotypes. And the problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. They make one story become the only story. Now, there are two key insights that one can get from this quotation: the creation of stereotypes, the role AI plays in reinforcing existing stereotypes, and also the dominance of a single story. In this case, the dominance of the discourse of value creation over value extraction. However, for lack of ample time, I will focus on the latter, which is the dominance of the discourse on value creation over value extraction. What is value creation? Value creation refers to the generation of economic and political benefits through the development and deployment of AI systems. What is value extraction? It is a process of capturing and exploiting existing values for the creation of AI. Now, the focus has been on all the goods AI can bring to us, all the benefits, but there is something AI is also doing, is also extracting value. How does it concern Africa? I'll focus more on labor value exploitation, or the phenomena of crowd workers, or as some persons call it, gig workers, especially those people in Africa doing what is called the reinforcement learning for human feedback. Now, while this does not contribute to unemployment, it contributes to underemployment in Africa, and it leads to capacity decline, lack of job security, and career progression. Interestingly, the belief is, having spent some time in Europe, the belief here is people carrying out this reinforcement learning from human feedback are unskilled people. But I have a first-hand experience. Maybe that's what motivated me to work on this, though it's something I'm yet to flesh out properly. The people carrying out this reinforcement learning from human feedback are not unskilled workers. They are, in fact, you can call them Africa's best. Africa's trained data scientists with coding skills, people with a good understanding of how AI works, with ethical knowledge, are the ones carrying out. But due to their location and lack of opportunities, they are not being placed at par with their counterparts in Europe. So they are delegated to doing what I call digital menial jobs, which is the reinforcement learning, and that amounts to underemployment. Now, exploring the problem, there are two factors contributing to this underemployment in Africa. One is the age-long story, lack of jobs due to lack of responsive government in Africa. The second one is the presence of substandard job, exploitative moves by tech companies to save costs. So due to that, it's not because Africans per se are afraid of competing with data scientists in the Western world. It's just because I'll use a Nigerian slang to say, like, half bread is better than nothing, right? Because there are lack of jobs, they are now pushed to settle for substandard jobs that are above the capacity that most of them possess. Now, there are regulatory gaps in trying to regulate this gig economy. The first one is the lack of peculiar regulatory efforts. There are a lot of discourse going on this. How do we regulate it? How do we even classify gig workers? Do we classify them as employees, or do we classify them as independent contractors? There's a whole lot of debate going on, and people are unsure. The other one is inadequate existing regulatory framework. The International Labour Organization, the body that concerns labor and ethics and the practice of labor or human-centered labor activities, the recommendation they have and evaluation does not factor in AI and the gig economy. Obviously, when it was developed, it wasn't developed with AI in mind. So it focuses and places sole responsibility on national governments to prevent and remedy unemployment and underemployment. But as we have seen from the previous slide I shared, that is based on two factors: lack of jobs and also presence of subpar jobs. So my hunch is a comprehensive regulatory effort will be one that covers all the factors. One that requires that African governments provide jobs for Africans, also that requires tech companies to provide better working conditions for people or jobs at par with their capacity. But there are difficult questions. Filling the gap would be a swift solution would be one that demands the placement and remuneration of workers based on the skills they possess. Like I mentioned briefly earlier, these workers have basic coding skills. They have idea and understanding of how AI systems work. They have ethical knowledge. So a regulatory effort or swift solution will be one that demands that tech companies should employ people and pay them based on the skills that they possess, or not, and not on the number of tasks that they carry out. Because the status quo now is you sign up for this gig work or reinforcement learning for human feedback, and maybe they have like a price of $1 per task you carry out, and you're paid based on the number of tasks you carry out that day. And though it's a difficult one to carry out because it's not about mindless clicking of boxes. These are tasks that are really tasking, that demands your knowledge, they demand your time. So that's how you're paid, how these gig workers are paid based on the number of tasks. What is not factored in is the value that they put into this process and the skills and the experience that they need to carry out this task. They're just paid, how many did you carry out, like menial jobs, how many blocks did you mold or whatever, and they pay them. Now, a regulatory move will be the one that, forces the hands of big tech companies to pay people based on the value they present. But there are difficult questions we have to answer or face as Africans. Given that underemployment cushions the effect of unemployment in Africa, thus placing us at a vulnerable and disadvantaged position, what demands can we make of the tech companies that will not have a counterproductive outcome? A counterproductive outcome in this situation will be one that, in trying to get better working conditions, we might lose the quasi benefits we get from this reinforcement learning or gig economy or gig work that people get here. because there's a serious issue of lack of employment in Africa. And these, though exploitative jobs, have helped to alleviate or cushion this effect. So in pushing, we might end up losing. These companies can take their gig work to maybe other part of the global south that also struggle with unemployment and also have less stringent laws or labor laws that would give them the opportunity to be as exploitative as they wish. So the push would be for a global standard where there is no room given for this, big tech companies to move their gig work maybe to less stringent to countries with less stringent labor laws. So quickly, a handy recommendation, or looking at it logically, would be to find a way to place Africa in a better position. And that would be to recommend that, let us fix our unemployment problem. Or let us fix all the issues that Africa has, so we are better placed to make, negotiations with these big tech companies. But however, I argue that this recommendation will be one that is detached from social realities and leads to over-responsibilization. It means it places too much responsibility on us in Africa, and it leads to victim blaming, because in the way the world is positioned and is structured, the status quo of the world, Africa is, due to historical oppression and present-day oppressive situation that Africa endures, we cannot save ourselves, basically, though we can make moves, but there are structural barriers that can prevent Africa from arriving at that freedom that we need to be better placed to make these negotiations. However, a good move will be one that factors in the status quo and the structures that prevents us from moving forward. The interesting thing and the good move is these challenges that AI presents in Africa are an extension of long-standing issues the continent has faced. Lack of employment did not begin when AI became popular. We've always suffered it. It's just that it's something now that big tech companies are now exploiting based on that. Nevertheless, I always try to look at the positive ground for things. It offers a practical opportunity. Now we have seen that there are loopholes, that the lack of employment, the very, very oppressive situation that Africa faces can lead to further oppression. It gives us room to directly address the issues that Africa faces. Thank you very much for listening.
Very much, Jaja, for your interesting lecture. And thank you for